And welcome to another episode of Spare from the Past. We're here to talk about Fun Winter, and this is actually the first time this is happened, but like we're doing consecutive pay-per-views each week. Last week we did WCW Uncensored. We're going one pay-per-view before that, which is WCW Superbrawl V. And I've got John May here to talk about it. John, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. I don't watch wrestling as much as I used to, but whenever Malcolm asks me to watch a pay-per-view from when I was in high school, I will watch a pay-per-view from when I was in high school.
And yeah, this is definitely an interesting one that and that is but we'll talk about. Like not much to do to it as a preamble, so go kick straight into it. But when the show was starting, like we had the announcers do the tournament thing. They showed like backstage segment of like Vader destroying limos and all that, like which was a long running theme of today, where it led Bobby Heenan like not worrying too much about the matches that were going on. So he spent most of the time like, I wonder what Vader's happening. It's like, but John, what do you thought about this opening segment of Vader?
From what I recall in '95, like the stipulation they put on the match for Hogan and Vader at Superbrawl V was that they were not allowed to touch each other like at all. They weren't allowed to have any physical altercations from like earlier in the year all the way through. Actually, the end of I think Halloween Havoc the year before, all the way through Super Brawl this year. So that morning, Vader was ready to beat the shit out of Hogan. So like he was going to fight him in the parking lot. But he just started attacking random cars, and he went on to the dark matches and beat the crap out of like Stars and Stripes and like all these people. So yeah, like Vader, like they got the most out of Vader. Like that's what Vader is good. Vader is a legit 400-pound dude, really athletic. Have him go beat the crap out of everybody. It's exactly what he should be doing.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like just with this open, it kind of led me to like it intrigued me enough to like anticipate like that this match is going to happen, which we'll get to like it's right at the end. But yeah, it was one of those ones that it was also one of those ones that led to some of the worst commentary moments, like especially with Bobby Heenan, like especially in between matches, like him like Tony's trying to talk about what's coming up, like and then Bobby Heenan's trying to talk to the people backstage, like, look, what's Vader up to? Is like,
I mean, Heenan was like peak Heenan. Obviously, like WCW at this point in time, like in the mid '90s, like it really is just like the late '80s, early '90s WWF guys going over to WCW. And Heenan, just at this point in his career, he knows what works. Like he's gonna just ad lib and be a goof. It works. Heenan works straight up. It doesn't matter whether it doesn't. But the thing is, like I think Schiavone was still kind of early in his career, so like he really didn't know what to do with them, and he really should just relax.
Yeah, there was definitely some moments where it looked like Tony was just really annoyed with Bobby. But the first match that we had on this card was Alex Wright taking on Paul Roma, which it was just one of those matches where no one seemed to be selling any of the moves, and it just was quite a mess. And apparently, one thing I found out when I was doing some sort of research on this match in particular was that apparently Paul Roman said in interviews like afterwards that he was trying to sabotage the match and that, and like he was fired eventually because of his bad behavior in that. But I don't know how much of that is like true or hearsay in that. But John, what are your thoughts about Alex Wright versus Paul Roman?
I mean, it's the right place on the card for this match. I mean, like if you look at the rest of the card, there's like nobody else who like wrestles any kind of like fast, high flying style. So you're gonna put Alex Wright on first, and I guess Paul Roma's, at the lack. I'm not degrading Paul Roma. Paul Roma's a good hand. He's always a dude you put out there to like get a good match. Paul Roma can do everything. So I don't understand like what the chip would be on his shoulder. Paul Roma is the type of dude that, especially in the mid '90s, looks great, can do everything. He would have a job forever if he just stuck with the program. Alex Wright, obviously hot at this point. The Wunderkind, Das Wunderkind, he wasn't gonna lose. And I think for what it wasn't a horrible match. You are right. I think they were rushing through a lot of the stuff, and it did hurt the selling, I guess, a little bit. But I mean, it's a popcorn match. It's meant to get the crowd into it. Seeing as you're just have a lot of big men just punching each other in a lot of the matches that follow it. So I think it's fine. It's forgivable for what it does.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely one of those interesting ones. I just quickly wanted to look at, but I just so I couldn't quite find what see if he didn't have an issue with Alex Wright, but I don't know. But I'll
Probably not, but you figure like imagine like Paul Roma at that point in his career. He'd had the run with like Hercules in WWF, and like he's with Orndorff here. Like he's been paired, he's been in a lot of like decent tag teams. Then to like put over like I don't know if Alex Wright really was 18 years old, but they billed him as 18 years old. So to be on pay-per-view losing to an 18-year-old kid, it's gonna hurt your ego, I guess.
Oh,
so
yeah.
in wrestling, you're not supposed to care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he may come up again, and I might have found out more in depth about it later. But anyway, moving on. Like we had a lot of backstage interviews, which is it seems to be the trend of WCW, where they have like backstage interviews like before and after the matches and all that. But like the first one they had was with Harlem Heat, and which was just a standard kind of promo and all that. And there was a weird moment where Mean Gene confused Stevie Ray and Booker T, and they just kind of called him out on it. But apart from that, but John, what are your thoughts about the backstage?
Yeah, whenever I see like old Harlem Heat stuff, I always it makes you think Booker T is smaller than he really. Booker T is huge, but Stevie Ray is bigger than Booker T, to the point like sometimes when I'm watching the match, I'm like, oh, there's Stevie Ray, and it's really is Booker T. So I can't blame Gene Okerlund because like I am not used to Booker T being the smaller dude in the ring. It's really weird. But it took me back to when Booker T's the little brother.
Yeah. But the next match we had was Jim Duggan versus Bunkhouse Buck.
Cute big men punching each other.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this match, John?
Duggan is Duggan. I've met Jim a bunch of times. He is like the nicest dude, and he just sits backstage with his glasses and does crossword puzzles all the time. So you wouldn't expect that out of him, because then he goes to the ring and he does that brain damaged yelling. But like it's a Jim Duggan match, and it's Bunkhouse Buck. So it's just two big dudes going around. It really is a brawl in Superbrawl. A lot of these matches are brawls. Like that's my one criticism of the entire card, is just like there's no real variety among the matches. It's just like I'm gonna punch you into the corner. We're gonna punch and punch and punch, and we'll do some elbows, we'll do some leg drops. No real spiffy stuff. It works, but it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And this is match number 1 of same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately, like this is definitely my issue with a lot of this pay-per-view. But because I just thought this match was it was just boring. And it's one of those ones it's with WB sometimes can find a way to make these kind of big men punching each other look interesting. Because so I don't know if you saw it, but the match that was on more with Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, I thought was really well done, and a good way to utilize two big men.
Well, Bronson Reed can fly. I mean,
Oh yeah.
He's not like, I don't consider him like a traditional. I mean, he is a big dude, but I don't consider him to be like a brawler. He can do stuff.
Oh yeah. I don't really have much to say about this. It's just one of those matches. It's fine.
It is fine. It's if you like Jim Duggan, you're gonna get all your Jim Duggan stuff.
Yeah, it was after I did rank him yesterday, Jacob Barber sort of said to me, it's 95 really wasn't a good year for wrestling. I can kind of get why I was because we've had two pay-per-views where but all the matches seem to be a mess for whatever reason. Then after this, we had a backstage interview with the Nasty Boys, which was once again standard thing. I don't know if you've got anything to add about this interview.
They're cool. I mean, Knobs and Sags are cool. Straight up, just cool dudes.
But the next match I had was Kevin Sullivan defeating Dave Sullivan. Look, this is just one of those ones where this was just a nothing match to me. It wasn't interesting. And it's even in the package, why this match was happening. It was I still don't get why this match was happening. It's I don't know why they didn't just make this a dark match and move one of the dark matches onto the
There's a
card.
lot of weird matches, like a lot of weird booking decisions in this card, like people just on the card.
Yeah.
Whatever. Kevin Sullivan, if he wants his place in the card, they were going to give it to him. This is like the second match of just, and like again, Dave Sullivan is bigger than Kevin Sullivan, and it's just a lot of like punch it. I'm going to punch you, and then I'm going to get up, and you're going to punch me, and I'm going to punch you, and you're going to punch me, and we'll fall out of the ring and punch each other. Then we'll get back in the ring and punch each other. We'll do an atomic drop, and then we'll do an angle where we mentioned that Ed Leslie was in a horrible like jet ski accident and had his face reconstructed. Kevin throws Dave into the butcher, Ed Leslie, and then he's selling his face like he's going to die, and then Kevin Sullivan just leaves him there, and it's never mentioned again.
Yeah, and I definitely noticed them talking about this, and like when I was watching, when I was reading a review about that, they definitely mentioned that whole thing. It was like
they say it like 20 times. Like he had reconstructive surgery on his face. It was Heenan. He had reconstructive surgery on his face. He had reconstructive surgery on his face. Yeah, Bobby, we know.
Oh yeah, there's just like the uncensored pay-per-view would like just be every second thing for Bobby Heenan's like it's fine, it's against the rules, but but this is uncensored. It said that like about 50 times that pay-per-view. But then next up we had the backstage interview with Big Bubba Rogers and Avalanche, which for people who may not know or didn't watch last week, it's Big Boss Man and Earthquake. But it was an interview. Like there was once again nothing much like to come out of this. I don't know if you've got anything to add about that interview, Don.
I mean, two guys not known for their mic skills, really, but for them, an excellent promo. I'd say for the two of them, really good. So if you want to see your highlight reel of John Tenta and Ray Traylor, Superbrawl V, check it out.
Yeah. But next we had the match with Harlem Heat versus the Nasty Boys. And Harlem Heat won. And this is one of those matches where and look, as much of a mess as it was, I actually really preferred the Harlem Heat Nasty Boys match that was on Uncensored over this one. But this one was just one of those matches which it was fine. Like it was really interesting to watch. But the finish is kind of what tainted this match for me because like WCW had this like rule about like no throwing people over the top rope, and which obviously that was the Nasty Boys picked up the win at the end. Then I can't remember who it was that came down to the ring.
Nick Patrick comes to the ring. Nick Patrick, and he's like, "Oh no, there was a throw over the top rope."
Yeah,
Randy Anderson, and they dusty finish the Nasty Boys and give the title back to Harlem Heat. Dumb. It doesn't, especially if you're bringing the match back next month anyway. Who cares who has the belts? Besides the point, also just from like what for the grace of God go I to criticize the Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat, but like this match was structured real weird. Like they never like isolated one of the Nasty Boys and like beat the shit out of them, and there was a lot of just like Keenan be like, "Oh, how many times you got to punch this guy?" And like it's just like again, this is like the third match in a row where it's like I'm gonna punch you, you're gonna punch me. Only thing that sets this match apart from the other matches is then you have Booker T doing axe kicks and scissor kicks and all this stuff. But when Stevie Ray's in there with either knobs and sags, it's just I punch you, you punch me. I punch you, you punch me. And they never like there's maybe one period of time when like Sags is like taking heat, but it doesn't last to the point that I give a shit when he tags in knobs, really. And they kind of do like a comeback, but like I didn't care. Because like Sags is like on his feet, no selling, and it just goes back and forth too much. If this match would have been better if it was just conventionally structured like a classic tag match. Yeah.
But then next we had a backstage interview with Sting and Macho Man, or I should add, it was more of an interview with Sting and Macho Man walking around like, I don't want to talk.
I'm gonna talk. It's like, well, if Macho Man's not gonna talk, just turn the fucking cameras off. That's what we get. That's what we came to see. We came to see Macho Man talk.
Yeah, but I think the storyline is just that Macho Man just wanted to get out there and fight. Because I was like going into these blind, I don't exactly know what the storyline going into this was, but it was just one of those ones where, and we'll definitely get to it in a minute, but yeah, like, it's one of those ones like Macho Man is a great promo thing. Like you, you, you really should like utilize his promo skills. Like, don't just have him walk around like I don't want to talk. Because like as much as I like Sting,
It's a
like
pay-per-view. He should talk.
yeah, yeah, as much as I like Sting, I don't know if Sting's promo skills are that strong, especially in this gimmick he was doing it before he became the like the Raven type
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
he's still like Sting, which
yeah,
is fine. But you have Savage, like let him talk.
yeah. But moving on, we had the Blacktop Bully taking on Dustin Rhodes. Again, and yeah, and look, this match was just boring. Like, and obviously the Blacktop Bully is also known as like as Smash from WWE, but
Yeah,
this is
Barry Darso, the man of 1,000 gimmicks. Yes.
yeah, but yeah, this is just one of those matches where it wasn't really that interesting. Once again, as we kind of said with the other ones, like it's pretty much them punching the shit out of each other,
Yeah. I'll
and
disagree slightly because like all the other matches are more similar because like Dustin's like it's young Dustin. It's not like obviously Dustin today, even though
yeah,
Dustin today is still a workhorse. Like Dustin, even young Dustin, like was trying to put on a good match and throwing moves in there. So like compared to all the other matches, it's different. Though they do a lot of I'll punch you, you punch me in this
yeah,
match too because Barry Darso's in it. But Dustin tried to incorporate a bunch of stuff into the match, I would say. And then of course you have Colonel Parker out there, and then I don't understand why the Blacktop Bully would go over, but whatever.
yeah, and especially with the fact that after the uncensored pay-per-view, they ended up getting fired because they bladed in the pay-per-view, which was supposed to have no rules anyway, and a really terrible King of the Road match, I might add. But that was last week. Then we had a couple more backstage interviews. We had an interview of with Vader, and then we had an interview of Ric Flair, which I'll get to it when we get to that match. Like, I kind of wish they didn't interview Ric Flair, but it is what it is. But John, what did you think about the interviews with Vader and Ric Flair?
Uh, Vader stuff's pretty standard for Vader. Can't go wrong. Ric Flair stuff, again, pretty standard for Ric Flair. Though he did promise he was be sitting at ringside with 5 beautiful women, and he sits next to a bunch of dudes. So, Rick, don't lie to us like that. That's messed up.
Yeah. But then we had Sting and Randy Savage taking on Avalanche and Big Bubba Rogers. And look, this is a match I actually really enjoyed this match. Like, it took us about like I think at this point, I think it was about 2 hours to get to a match that was really good.
Yeah, and these
and
guys are all excellent. I mean, honestly, I think the
yeah,
weakest person in this match is Sting, and that's saying something.
yeah, but it was just one of those really good tag matches that was, I was writing a match at the time. I was writing a trivia match at the time. I was like, throughout this match, I was glued to the TV for this match. The other was like, oh yeah, it's happening. But yeah, what are your thoughts about Sting and Randy Savage versus Avalanche and Big Bubba Rogers?
I think everybody will agree with me. I think John Tenta, I don't know if he's criminally underused, but I would have loved to see him used more. It's a shame with him. Boss Man too, Big Bubba, whatever. Not that they're wasted in this match. They get all their stuff in, and it's great. But I feel like they could have done more with them. Even though it's a great match, maybe the best match on the card. I feel like they could have done even more because I think it was a kind of rush, knowing that like Vader and Hogan were going to need a lot of time at the end. Maybe you could have pulled out one of those matches. Maybe you could have pulled out the Sullivan match or the Bunkhouse Buck match and given this match some more time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. But then after the match, we had a backstage interview with Hulk Hogan, which was pretty much standard Hulk Hogan stuff. And then leading into the match itself, we had Hulk Hogan defeating Vader by DQ. Look, the match itself I thought was really fun. Was really good and like like it had both of them doing their standard kind of move set. But I was kind of disappointed with the finish because like um they drew attention to the fact that Ric Flair was there and he wasn't on the card. So like I think the interference might have had more weight had it just been a case of oh shit, Ric Flair is coming out, but they just kept on drawing attention to the fact he was there without
I
his
also
beautiful.
don't understand the rules of this match. Like, so Hogan wins by DQ, but earlier in the match, Hogan hits Vader in the head with a chair in full view of the referee and clotheslines him over the top rope. Those don't give you a disqualification, but Ric Flair coming in the match and touching Hogan is disqualification. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, you make it a no DQ match because it was being wrestled like a no DQ match the entire time.
Yeah.
Then have Flair interfere, call it a no contest. That's different. But I don't get the no DQ finish when Hogan, the face, literally walks all the way around the ring to grab a chair to walk all the way back around the ring to hit Vader in the head with it. Like, that's a DQ, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's one of these cases, especially if some of these pay-per-views like the referees have magic eyes. Like sometimes they see what they want.
They definitely saw that.
Yeah. But yeah, but funny enough, we read fast stuff there. I think it helps that there really wasn't much of note in this pay-per-view. But
Yeah.
John, overall, what would you sort of rate the pay-per-view out of 5 stars?
Out of 5, I think normally, like if I was being cruel, I would rate it lower. But there's a lot of like good nostalgia in this, and there's a lot of like all the wrestlers that are on it. Sure, they are like in their older stage of their career, but they did not take any bad wrestlers. There's no bad wrestlers across this entire card. So I probably land like I enjoy it even when it's just people punching each other. I would probably go 3.5 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like like if I had the nostalgia, maybe I would have hit given a little bit higher. But for me, it's 1 out of 5. Like this is like, and for me, that's purely because of the like the last couple of matches. Like I thought they'd be really good, but but it's one of those ones like I don't have nostalgia for this, and it was like less than what I kind of expected, especially with some of the people on the card, like Jim Duggan. I kind of expected somewhat of a more an exciting match from him, but it is what it is. But as I always like doing, every 5 episodes is I like to do sort of a recap of what my top 5 pay per views are at the moment. And at the moment, my top 5 pay per views like SummerSlam 2002 are still up there. NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4 is number 2. Then we've got NXT Takeover Dallas, WrestleMania 31. Then tied for 5 is Royal Rumble 09 and Judgment Day 05. And then so far, the wrestlers that have appeared the most in matches that wrestled the most in matches that I've covered so far. Dustin Rhodes is sort of leading the pack at 8. Sting is there at 6. Rey Mysterio is still up there in 5. It's always interesting tracking especially doing these in random orders where the wrestlers are coming up. It's like it's one of those ones like I said really early on. I forgot Rey Mysterio popped up in WCW at times.
He does.
But with that, it's time to spin the wheel to see what I'm doing next time. Still got about like 644 pay-per-views on here.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Ooh, go Cyber Sunday 2008 is what I'm doing next time. Which kind of excites me because I really like Cyber Sunday gimmicks. But with that is the end of the show for today. But John, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Why We Love Horror, which is at WWL Horror on all your social platforms. Also, Why We Love Horror Facebook group. Check me out there. It's as you can tell by the title, it's a lot of horror stuff. Malcolm's there occasionally.
Yeah. And for me, can find me on Paper Productions hosting Rankum every Sunday. This week we're doing Top Shelf Hugh Grant movies. You can find me popping up on Spear from the Past from time to time, as as well as popping up on other channels. And tomorrow night I'm doing going to be on tournament fights for the Scots versus the Cullens match. But until next time, that is the end of Spear from the Past this week. We'll see you next week when we talk about Cyber Sunday.